Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events from around the world. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're going to explore a fascinating story that has significant implications for democracy and authoritarianism. In Hungary, a remarkable turn of events has unfolded, with the defeat of Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who had been in power for over a decade. Orban's government had been accused of eroding democratic institutions and consolidating power, making his downfall a major upset. But what's interesting is that Orban's demise was not solely due to internal factors within Hungary. The role of the European People's Party, or EPP, cannot be overstated. The EPP, a center-right political alliance, had long been criticized for its support of Orban, despite his government's authoritarian tendencies. However, in a surprising move, the EPP eventually distanced itself from Orban and supported his opponent, Péter Tisza. This shift in allegiance was crucial, as it allowed the EU to suspend funding to Orban's government, ultimately contributing to his downfall. This raises important questions about the responsibility of political parties and institutions in promoting democratic values. The story also highlights the complexities of electoral authoritarianism, where leaders use democratic institutions to consolidate power while undermining the very principles of democracy. Orban's government had rigged the system in its favor, using state resources to tilt the playing field. Yet, despite these obstacles, the opposition was able to unite and prevail at the ballot box. This is a sobering reminder that even when the odds seem insurmountable, democratic forces can still triumph. But it also underscores the need for vigilance and accountability from political parties and institutions. The fact that Orban's authoritarian tendencies were allowed to flourish for so long, with the tacit support of European center-right leaders, is a cautionary tale. As we consider the implications of this story, it's essential to recognize that the struggle between democracy and authoritarianism is ongoing, with no clear victor in sight. The Hungarian case serves as a reminder that democratic values must be constantly defended and promoted, even when it's inconvenient or challenging. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a complex and evolving story that's shifting the landscape of international relations. The long-standing special alliance between the United States and Israel is undergoing significant changes, driven by transformations within both countries. At the heart of this shift is the declining bipartisan support for Israel in the U.S., which has been a cornerstone of their relationship for decades. This change is attributed to various factors, including the growing divide within the Democratic Party, where progressive voices are increasingly critical of Israeli policies towards Palestinians. The movement for Black Lives has labeled Israel's actions as genocide, further polarizing the issue. On the other side of the political spectrum, a segment of the MAGA right is also re-evaluating the U.S.-Israel relationship, albeit from a different perspective. They argue that the alliance no longer serves U.S. interests and that Israel exerts too much influence over American foreign policy. Figures like Tucker Carlson are now vocal about questioning the wisdom of continued substantial military aid to Israel. The implications of these shifts are profound, both for Israel and the United States. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has begun to position himself for a future where U.S. military aid might be significantly reduced or even eliminated, suggesting that Israel could wean itself off this assistance over the next decade. However, this transition is fraught with uncertainty and potential risks for Israel's security and economy. As we navigate these complex geopolitical waters, it's essential to consider the multifaceted nature of international alliances and how they reflect the evolving interests, values, and political landscapes of nations. The future of the U.S.-Israel relationship will undoubtedly be shaped by a myriad of factors, including domestic politics in both countries, regional dynamics in the Middle East, and global shifts in power and influence. Welcome back to Concrete Block. Today, we've been exploring the complexities of global politics and international relations. As we wrap up this episode, I'd like to take a closer look at the current state of the United Nations. The UN has long been a cornerstone of global diplomacy, but its relevance and effectiveness have been called into question in recent years. the organization's financial struggles are well documented, with the United States, one of its largest contributors, having plunged the UN into a fiscal crisis by paying only a fraction of its assessed dues. This move has left a shortfall of over $4 billion, raising concerns about the UN's ability to carry out its core functions. Despite these challenges, many countries around the world still view the UN as an essential institution for promoting peace, security, and cooperation. However, the organization's inability to adapt to shifting global power dynamics and its perceived ineffectiveness in addressing pressing issues like climate change and conflict resolution have led some to question its relevance in the 21st century. It's worth noting that the UN was built on the principles of a liberal Western order, which is now facing significant challenges. As non-liberal and undemocratic states gain more influence on the global stage, it remains to be seen whether the UN can evolve to accommodate these new realities. Some argue that the UN can still play a vital role in promoting global governance and cooperation, even if its structure and operations need to be reformed. Others believe that the organization's limitations and biases make it ill-equipped to address the complex challenges of our time. As we consider the future of the United Nations, it's essential to approach this topic with nuance and balance. While the UN is far from perfect, it has made significant contributions to global peace and security over the years. Ultimately, its relevance and effectiveness will depend on its ability to adapt to changing circumstances and demonstrate its value to member states and the global community. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.